people a little bit of time to log in, I think.
Yeah. And they can see us now. Hello.
Hello.
You can see us and we can't see you.
That's the worst part, isn't it? We're on show, but we can't see anybody else.
They're probably sitting there now. It's 12 o'clock. They'll have their wee cup of coffee. They'll have their sandwich.
My sandwich.
It can be the lunchtime entertainment. That does sound like you. You can put in the chat. Actually, can you start using the chat now and say who's here while we're waiting?
Yeah.
Matthew Carr says, yes, that's exactly what it looks like. I wonder if it's a sandwich. You're hungry now to have lunch afterwards.
Perfect. Nice to meet you, Angelica.
Oh, hi, Angelica.
I think, because people can just join as we go through, Alison, so I'm just gonna, we'll probably kick off and let people join as they come on. So those of you who have joined already, we've got Alison Edgar, entrepreneur's godmother and sales guru, basically. And she's very kindly agreed to join us. Some of our eScalate clients are joining and some of you I don't know, but she's going to talk us through some sales strategies and basically impart you with the confidence to successfully sell throughout this current quite difficult climate and beyond. So without further ado, I'm going to make Alison host and she can take it from there. So
thank you, Andrea.
Over to you, Alison.
Perfect. Right. So I'm going to actually bring up some slides to help you follow what's going on as well. So now there are 11 of us in the room, and I know that Andrea and I are 2 of those. So there's 9 people in there, and I know that other people will be joining later or watching on record. So first of all, I should say hello. I'm Alison Edgar, and one of the things I want to talk to you today is about sales. And I think for those of you who haven't heard me before, I talk a lot about the fact that sales, when it's delivered correctly, and customer service are exactly the same thing. So that's one of my takeaways. I want you to believe in your heart of hearts that sales and customer service is exactly the same thing. So what are we going to be covering during the session? So for those of you, again, who I know Angelica, I think, has read the book and been on, if it's the same Angelica that I'm thinking of, and been on one of my live courses. So the contents of the book, Secrets of Successful Sales, is based on what I did as an overperformer in sales and what my research showed for other overperformers. So my background, prior to moving into sales, I actually left school at 16 and was later in life diagnosed dyslexic. I didn't actually know dyslexia was even a thing. I just thought I was a little bit thick, shall we say. I was quite smart, but I wasn't great at this reading and writing stuff. So I think one of the things that I learned early doors was concentrate on the things that you are really strong at. And for me, it's people. I really enjoy people. So I moved into hospitality and I became a hotel receptionist. Now, I didn't actually know what hotel receptionists did. I thought all they did was give out the keys to the room and that was it. But what I later discovered was actually every single penny that came through the hotel, because it was a small family hotel, came through reception. So as well as obviously checking people in, working in the restaurant, working in the bars, I got a really good grasp for how a P&L would work and how they would make money and how to balance the book. So I think for me, the numbers, as one of the things, we've all watched Dragon's Den and people talk about knowing your numbers in a business. And it's interesting, I often have a heated debate with accountants because they say it's all about controlling the costs. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's really important. But if you're not selling and bringing money into a business, then it's not going to survive. So that's why I focus on sales. So after several years traveling the world, working in Sydney, working in Cape Town, I came back to my hometown of Clydebank, which is known also for wet, 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 and the QE2. And during this time, I met my husband. So this is 93, and he was a software developer, and he worked Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. So I had a choice. And again, I think business and life is a lot about choice. I either had to get a Monday to Friday 9 to 5 job and stop working shift, or I was going to get chucked. And I quite liked this one. He was a keeper. So that's when I did my first sales training. I worked in the first BT outbound business to business call centre. And at that time, we were selling these things called mobile phones, new to market, never catch on. And during that time period, I got a lot of training from then. I then went on to work for Dow Egberts, the coffee company, and Yale, not Yale like the locks, Yellow Pages. And I sold advertising space to small businesses. And this is where my genuine love of small businesses came from, because every day for 15 years, I was in their world. And what I discovered was a lot of them couldn't sell. It was okay, they could convert when they got an inbound lead, but they didn't know how to proactively sell. And I thought, that's my mission, is to teach them. So the reason that I wrote the book, and Andrea will know this, and you guys that work through the local authorities will know, there used to be government funding to help small businesses, growth vouchers and growth accelerator. But when the funding stopped, the ones who needed me most, the startups and the micro businesses, were the ones who didn't have much money to pay me. And to sustain my business, I had to have a balance of working with companies who had cash ready to pay me for the training or the coaching, but also my heart went out to the startups. So that's where I wrote the book. And as a dyslexic, writing is one of those big challenges. Now, I know that currently you've all got challenges in your life and in your business, and I think it's again about keeping on your mindset, which we're going to talk about in a moment. But I think it's belief that you can get through. So writing the book was horrific. You know, there was times where I never thought I was going to get through, but focusing on why I was writing it really helped me to get through. And it became a W.H. Smith top 10 business book. It was at the airports. People were taking photos from the airports. And also the Independent featured it as one of the top books written by a woman in business in 2019. So I think belief currently is something that's really important to you in your business, that you can, if you focus and you use the right tools, you know, we can get through this. And I think this feeds into a lot of people assume that they can't sell at this time. And I think, you know, necessity has made people overcome a lot of people with this, because, you know, I don't know about you guys, but when we locked down at first and all this happened at first, it was shock. You go into shock and you think, oh, I don't really know what I'm going to do. And I think when we go into shock, we do the, you know, the brain, the fight, flight, or freeze. And a lot of people thought, if I freeze and I don't sell, then that's the way to go forward. I can phone my customers just to make sure they're okay, but we can't be selling products. But to keep the economy going, we have to be focusing on sales. So now is as good a time as any to be selling, starting businesses. And again, I think a lot of this is on the mindset of where you are. So again, if you have a look, fixed mindset, there is a lot. If you're on Twitter, I'm sure you'll see a lot of fixed mindset posts. So you know, a lot of negativity. And this is what I see about sales. I mean, it's really interesting. If I had £1 for everybody that said to me, oh, I don't like sales. Oh, I'm not good at sales. I'm rubbish at sales. Oh, I don't mind customer service, but oh, sales, that's like, oh. And they might have tried it. Again, if you think about the stories of why I set it up, working with the small businesses, I've tried that out, you know, proactive stuff, and I wasn't good at it. So I steered away from that. You know, I don't like to be challenged. I've always done it this way. I don't want to do anything different, but the world is different now. So we do have to do things differently. And feedback and criticism are personal. So, you know, I met her at networking and she was pushy, or, you know, and again, we have these the ways that we think, but these studies are based on Carol Dweck, and she does a lot of this stuff with kids at school. And again, thinking about spellings and numbers. It's the same thing as business. To get through, we need to have a growth mindset. And I talk about golf a lot in my book. I talk about golf anyway, because I used to play for the West of Scotland when I was 16. And what happened was, when I started to play golf, I was rubbish. I mean, literally, I was really bad. Fresh air shots, and I was missing it all the time in the bunker. And what I chose to do was take myself on the practice fairway. I got a good coach to teach me the skills, and I practiced. And again, I think that's like sales. You have to love it to be great at anything. And that's where, looking at sales, you're not going to go from not liking it to loving it. But if you can start to tolerate it and practice it, and then pick up what you've learned from it and keep going, then that's where it all starts to make sense. And again, I think, sales is definitely one of those things that you have to practice to get good at. So hopefully that makes sense. I can see there's now quite a few of you, and I should say the chat is open. I like to have you in the chat having conversations and saying hello, and throughout the session I'll be saying, are you on my page? Do you understand? So use the chat for that. If you've got any questions, put them in the questions box and I'll catch them at the end. Or if it's something that's relevant at that time, Andrea's monitoring that as well. So any questions, let me know. But I want you, my big thing today is that you're going to think about sales with a growth mindset. And you don't have to be perfect, but you have to start to learn to love sales. And I would say one of the things, again, I'm back to the old golf again, guys, is sales and marketing is like golf. So a lot of the time, if I do this live, and I do this at like big audiences, a couple of hundred people, I'll say, put your hand up if you know the difference. If you, in your heart of hearts, know the difference between sales and marketing, put your hand up. And I get a few odd questions, a few odd little hands will creep up. But you need to know, especially if you're a business owner, you need to understand the different functions. So people like marketing, right? So I'll explain why they like marketing. So marketing, put the tee in the ground and put the ball in the tee. So that's your mail shots, that's your social media, that's your emails, that's anything that doesn't really involve human interaction, right? So that's because that's where sales comes in. And if you're scared of sales, what you'll do is you'll hide behind your emails or your social media or your DMs, or you'll just try not to integrate, because ultimately we're scared of rejection, and sales is full of rejection. So again, that's why people hide behind marketing. But what will happen is, if I do this live, someone in the audience will put up their hand, and usually that's a load of rubbish. It's a load of rubbish. What happens as in marketing, we put the tee in the ground, put the ball in the tee, take it down the fairway and put it right next to the pin. And you sales guys tap it in and take all the glory. And that's where, if your marketing is good, if you've built a brand and actually, people know who you are, they're more likely to give you inbound inquiries, but you still need to have the sales function to put the ball in the hole. Unless you're Amazon or eBay, and that's a hole-in-one for marketing. That's not sales at all. And that, if anybody's in the service industry, or if you're in the product B2C, so like candles or shoes or ASOS, that's not sales at all. That's a pure hole-in-one for marketing. So again, the holy grail. So hopefully that makes sense. If you are on my page, if you know what I'm saying about this, give me a little yes in the comments. Let me hear that you are there, you are listening. Give me some yeses in the comments, in the chat. Oh, Angelica says yes. Anya, I think, there's quite a few people I know in here. Lorna says yes as well. Great. Okay, so we're all on the page. We know that sales is the part where us as humans come into play. The phone call, the webinar chat, the Zoom meeting, do you remember those face-to-face? The retro time where we could meet people face-to-face? That's where sales comes into play. So let's have a little look, because, oh, you're not, okay. Okay, Angelica, but hopefully I'm pronouncing it correctly, because most people call it Angelica, and I used to get into trouble, so hopefully that is how I pronounce it. So one of the things is, coming back to the psychology behind sales, a lot of the time is how we train our brain to think about sales. So again, this might be you, this might be you. I don't like sales. Can't sell. I tried it before and it didn't work, it was rubbish. And then what happens, our thoughts then move across to how we feel about sales. Do you know, I'm really worried. I don't know if I could pick up the phone and have that conversation. It makes me really anxious when I think about that. And what happens if they think I'm pushy? What happens if they think... So again, our thoughts drive how we feel, and then that drives how we behave. So then what we do is we don't bother. We just stick to email. We don't bother reaching out with a purpose. You know, we can reach out to our customers to find out how they are, but we can't talk about sales, because that might be the wrong timing, or that might be seen as bad. And then, because you're not bringing any money in through sales, it just goes round in a circle. So one of the things, guys, this is why it's important that you really learn to love sales, because you need to break the cycle. You need to start here with, I like sales. I can sell. You know what? I tried it before and it didn't go according to plan, but I'm going to try it again. And this time I'm going to do it a little bit better. Then what will happen is you'll flip the coin and you'll be quite excited about it. You kind of look forward to it. Then what will happen is your behavior will be upbeat and it will be positive. And then you'll make sales and then you go, oh, I like sales. So that's one of the things that I really want you today to try and flip the circle. So again, really think about, I like sales. And this is the thing that I genuinely believe, when it's delivered correctly, sales and customer service is exactly the same thing. You're not going to sell to everyone. You're not. But if you, in your heart of hearts, believe that your product or your service will really help someone in their business or in their life, you're not giving them great service by not reaching out proactively. So hopefully that makes sense. So the contents of the book, it's called The 4 Key Pillars. So the book's called Secrets of Successful Sales. It's available on Amazon for £9.68, I think at the moment. It's on sale. But the content looks at the 4 key pillars. And the first key pillar is understanding behaviours. So in the audience done Myers-Briggs, Belbin or DISC, D-I-C-S. So if you've done it, give me a yes or no. Have you done Myers-Briggs, Belbin or DISC? Oh, Hayley has raised her hand. Oh, she has. That means she has done it. Right. Okay, got it. Yeah, that's good. Anya's done DISC. Lorna has done DISC. That's good. Anybody else? If you've not done it, give me a no. Just say no, not done that, so that I know how much detail we know. Okay, Angelica's not. Matthew's not. Annalie, I think it's Annalie Baxter. Okay, so let me explain what I mean. So for those of you who have done DISC, Myers-Briggs or Belbin, you've probably done it in a leadership and management situation. How do I manage my team better? How do I understand them? But sometimes people forget to flip it into a sales perspective. So let me give you a little bit of an overview on what I mean. So I believe a lot of it comes from this cross. Okay, so if you're writing notes, or taking photos, I'd take a photo of this cross. And let me explain what I mean. So some people are task focused, others are relationship, some people are extrovert, and other people are introvert. So again, at this stage, if I'm doing live, I go, put your hand up. You can do that while you're having your coffee and your sandwich. You can put your hand up because I can't see you anyway, in your pajamas. So have you ever met someone that you don't get on with particularly well? And again, usually I get 100% of hands at this stage. But this is, again, don't forget, Matthew Carr's like, yes, I have. Don't forget, this is based on what the top performers do. And you never really know the behaviours of a top performer because they're so intuitive at adaptation. And it doesn't mean being fake or phony because you can still use the same words. It's just how you phrase them and how you position them. So to give you an overview of this, what I'm going to do is I am hypothetically going to take you back to school. Don't worry, Matthew, we're not going. You can leave your sandwich and your coffee, it's fine. And I'm hypothetically going to give you an English test, which will last for 30 minutes, right? So again, you can close your eyes and think about your class at school. I can still smell the desks. I'm not sure about you, but I can smell the wooden desks. Maybe you didn't have them, but we had the ones with the inkwells. And in the test, you will have different types of people in your classroom, but the first one I want to focus on is the one with the red behaviours. So the task-focused extroverts. And after 20 minutes of the test, they'll put up their hand. Hey, miss, I'm finished. Check me out. I'm a winner. You're all losers. I'm bored. What do you want me to do now? So for the red behaviours, the task-focused extroverts, for them, it wasn't about the detail, because when the test paper comes back, oh, I didn't realise there was another side to that paper. So again, I want you to think about your customers. These are the task-focused extroverts who be like, what? Yeah, you've got a minute. Yeah, just tell me what you want. What's the price? I don't want to know any of your nonsense. Just tell me what the price is. Then when they buy something and they find out they've bought the wrong product, that'll be your fault then. So again, task-focused extroverts. And it's funny because people say, what's a good colour for sales or what's a good colour for customers? Again, it's about matching that customer's pace, but ultimately, it's about leading the dance. So although that customer goes fast, you've got to be aware of that, and it's your job as the salesperson to slow them down. And I'm going to explain a little bit that in process. So then back to our test, and after 10 minutes, right, so it's just started, you've got the yellow behaviour, the relationship-focused extrovert. And after 10 minutes of that, oh, Angelica, that sounds like a German name. I wonder which part of Germany are you from? Oh yeah, oh, I know Germany, I've been there. Alison McCall, can you go on with the test? Oh, I forgot there was a test. Oh yeah, I'll just get back to that now. These are the customers that are time thieves, because you're trying to have a conversation about business and you'll know all about the weather in the Bahamas on a Tuesday. I've done that. And then when you try and talk business, they'll have run out of time. So again, they're upbeat, they're extroverts. So already you can see that my tone, my pace, my energy level is high because that's the extroverts. Then we move across into the introverts. My tone, my pace, and my gesturing is just a little bit slower because the introverts don't want to stand out, and they do this thing. They actually engage their brain before they speak. They think things through introspectively. So if we go back again to the test, after 10 minutes, the green behaviour, the relationship-focused introvert, will notice that Lorna's got a headache. Miss, my friend Lorna's got a headache. I think I should take her to the nurse. So for the green behaviour, the headache was more important than the test. So these are your customers, again, who will not make a decision there and then. They'll have to think about it. They'll consult with other people and how it affects other people. And if you put them into a corner to get them to make a decision, what they'll do is they don't want to hurt your feelings, but they won't tell you no, so you won't get a straight answer. So they'll fob you off, or they'll ghost you because they don't want that conflict of telling you no. Then last but not least, we move across to our blues, our task-focused introverts. And again, like the greens, there is a lot of introspective thinking. They crave the detail. So right up until the last second of the test, they're checking the work, double checking the work. Did I cross my I? Did I drop my T? These are the ones that probably sit in procurement departments and they need the details. So again, if you have a look at that, have you ever met somebody and not built a strong relationship when it comes to sales? Usually it's your diagonal opposite. So if you're a red and you want people be brief, be bright, be gone, it's the slow-paced greens that take longer to think about it that you don't build the relationship. If you're yellow and you're leading the Disney parade, it's the dull, boring blues that don't smile and they don't engage that you're not building the relationship with. If you're here, Carey, Sherry, green, and you just want everything to be nice, it's the pushy, pushy reds that drive you mad. And if you're up here in blue, it's those annoying flies, those yellows that never shut up. They don't listen, they just talk all the time. So can you see from that, that's why one of the fundamental things is actually understanding your customers' behaviours and your own behaviours so that you know how to adapt, because ultimately people buy people and they buy people like them. So hopefully if you get this, if you're on my page, give me a yes in the comments. Hopefully I'm seeing some, I say I'm seeing some light bulbs. Obviously I can't see you with your coffee sandwich pajamas. Yes. And Anna Lee, that's how I pronounce it, I think, hopefully. Lorna says yes. Yes, we're getting some yeses. Perfect. Okay, so let's move on to the next part. So who was brought up to treat other people? Again, you don't have to use the chat, but I'm sure that most of you were brought up to treat other people the way that you want to be treated. Well, in sales, it's not like that. Treat other people how they want to be treated, not how you want to be treated. And that's how you build those relationships. So sales process, we have got, I'm watching the timer. For anybody that does speak at webinars and events, here's my little top tip. On my phone, I've got a thing called a perf timer, and it shows me how long I've got. So 26 minutes. I'll actually get a bit longer because there's a wee space for questions. Right, so process. Let me tell you about my, not really my friend, but someone you will know, James Dyson. So James Dyson, I'm sure, coming from, Oxford, Wiltshire, it's not far really, is it? Just across the border. He, for those of you who don't know, manufactures a lot of things, but one of the things is vacuums, the Dyson. And again, it's like sales. So I mentioned earlier that you're not going to sell to everyone, but it's about finding the right people. So if you look at the Dyson, it's manufactured, it goes through a process, and then voila, out pops the vacuum. But some things will not go through quality control. And again, that's like sales. Do not have the expectation that you're going to sell to everyone, because if I can't sell to everyone, I can't teach you to. But one of the things, and again, for those of you who are doing networking, you'll know this is the elevator pitch, but this is where I see a lot of people go wrong. So, hello, my name's Alison Edgar, MBE. That's a story in itself. I'm the entrepreneur's godmother, and what I do is teach sales. Right? We've all been on those networking calls. Hello, I'm Jim from blah, 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 and I make candles. It happens. But the thing that's so important is the last part, the what's in it for them. So this takes quite a while to master, but again, it's a formula, it's a process. So hi, my name's Alison Edgar. I'm the Managing Director of Sales Coaching Solutions and the Entrepreneur's Godmother. And what I do is I teach people to sell, because if they don't sell, they don't have a business. But if they do sell, what they can do is make money through their business and grow their employees and actually help the economy. So again, I've put in there 3 things that are relevant to most people. They can make money in their business, because at the moment, most people want to make money in their business. Also that they can employ people, because if that ticks the boxes, then, you know, they want to grow the economy and look after themselves. So, you know, it's that fourth thing. So, hi, my name's Jim and I make candles. And what that does is we know that well-being is such a prominent thing at the moment. Having candles in your environment can actually help you to relax and be more productive. Random, don't know if anybody sells candles, but can you see what I mean? Hopefully you'll see what I mean. If you get what I mean, and you're going to work, that's your homework, guys, in Oxford. You've got to work on that introduction. And it's so important now because we're losing quite a lot of our body language when we do networking online. So that those words of what you're going to do for someone else are really important. So hopefully I'll take some yeses before I move on to the next one. Okay, Anya says yes, brilliant. Okay. And purpose. I think it's having a purpose. Matthew, oh, I even got a hashtag at the end. Thank you very much, Matthew Carr. And the purpose. I think people forget that what they're doing has to have a purpose. Right. So if you take nothing else away from today, this is the magic golden keys. Have you ever been to an event or had somebody try to sell you something, and all they do is go, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna do the next thing, I'm gonna do this, and they just start listing off what they do. I'm sure, I'm not even gonna ask for that, I know they do. Bye Anya, see you again. You'll get the recording, so it's all fine. I want you to think like a child. So again, if I do this live, I usually say, you know, who in the audience has got a child, a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old child? And some hands go up, and I go, who in the audience has ever been a child? Oh, I get 100% of hands, and usually a laugh, which is nice. But when we start to speak, so again, I think about children, grandchildren, think about yourself at an early age. Children ask why. Put on your shoes, why? Because I'm going to the shops, why? Because we need milk, why? Because daddy drank it all, why? Because you know, we went out last night for dinner, or whatever, why? And as a small child, a wonderful thing happens that people actually explain to them, and that's why they continue to ask open questions. But when children are age 4 or 5, they go to school and they move from a small ratio with their parent, grandparent, nursery, childminder, whatever it is, to a 1:30 ratio. So these little sponges, you know, it comes to the questioning techniques, you know, we are born to ask who, what, why, where, when, how, who, what, why, where, when, how, who, what, and then we get so much information. But when we're in a room of 1:30, can I, will I, would you like me to, we become polite. And actually, that's your worst nightmare in sales. Not being polite, you have to be polite, but your worst nightmare is your questioning techniques. Would you like me to send you an email? Would you like me to do this? Would you like me, no, here's my proposal, you know, I hope you like it. No questions. It's all about engaging with those open questions. So I've got homework for you all. I want you to have a look at your emails, the last email that you sent, and how did you close it off? Look forward to hearing your thoughts. There's no engagement. Why would somebody reply to you? And then like other people go, oh, I wonder why they never come back to me, because you never encourage them. Here's the proposal with all the information. How do you want to move this forward? My suggestion is that we have a Zoom. How does Tuesday the 21st work for you? So again, open questions and call to actions. That's how you take things off marketing and move it into sales. And that's one of the fundamental things that I see. Again, you should be using these in your conversations with people anyway. So that is the most common thing. And a lot of people say, oh, I do that. Yeah, check your emails. Bet you don't. So that's our process. Again, there's so much in process, but people that can sell know the sales process like the back of their hand. Again, you know, the book's on Amazon, the £9.60. It was written for small businesses. I make 50 pence off each book, so it makes, you know, not much profit in it for me, but having that process in the book is a game changer as far as sales go. So I would definitely recommend grabbing a copy. the other thing is strategy. So we've looked at behaviours, we've looked at sales process, and now we're going to look at strategy. So I didn't go into much detail on who I am or what I've done, apart from obviously touched on the MBE because it was on the new honours list. So I'm still very excited and still in a little bit of shock. But I told you the start of the journey. I left school at 16. I worked in hospitality. I didn't actually start my own business until 2011, and I did it part-time, and I gave up work in 2014. I really started the business, incorporated in 2014. But you'll see since then, you know, I worked with Number 10. Again, we worked on some of the delivery programs. I've done BBC Breakfast, LBC. My clients, my speaking clients include the Discovery Channel, Yale, and I was booked to go to speak at the European Commission before lockdown. So I think it's really important that you can sell yourself, because if you can create your own brand, and, you know, I've just done an interview for NatWest for one of their magazines around self-promotion, and self-promotion without a purpose is just bragging. But if you have got a purpose that you know what you can do is helping people, actually self-promotion helps to raise your brand and improve your marketing. So I really, the reason this slide is in here is to help you to believe that anything's possible. So even when you think that it's not, having a growth mindset really ties it in. So how do we bring money in? Like, what's the quick fix at the moment? Because for those of you who have got businesses, I bet your bottom dollar you've been keeping in contact with your customers through lockdown and through this period. I would hope you have, because that would be a nice thing to do for customer service. But again, what was the purpose? So for us, we look at there's money usually a 20% uplift in your existing client base. And how we do it is we talk about bingos. Again, I love it. Everything's got to be fun. So if you have a little look, this is an example. And again, some of you will be able to do this on your CRM systems, depending on, you know, how you have got your CRM and your workflow set up. But for me, again, if you look on the left-hand column, these are some of my clients. So MLM Consulting is a little one-person wellness consultancy. Discovery Channel, I'm hoping that you've heard of Discovery Channel because they're quite big on the TV. And then Business West is a delivery partner for a lot of the programs based in Bristol. I think they do some work in Swindon, so some of you might have heard of them. They border on the Oxford LEP area. But have a look, and this is where real kind of out of the box thinking starts. So for me, I've got webinars, I've got books, I've got online courses, I've got behaviour profiling, coaching and training. So what the ideal is that you can get your client to take a full house. So if you know what they buy, then there's things that you know that might be applicable for them. And where people go wrong and they go, I can do that for you, but you haven't asked good questions to identify whether they need a webinar. Does that make sense? So again, it's not about going, I may do this, I may do that. It's about asking. And, you know, if you look at the Discovery Channel, for example, you know, they bought the books, they bought the behaviour profile, and then they bought speaking. But MLM Consultant, the one person will never buy speaking. So again, sometimes people try and pitch the wrong products to their existing customer base. But hopefully that makes sense. But how do you get them to buy more? You ask them good questions. So just out of interest, MLM Consulting, how do you gauge your behaviour with other people? Well, I'm not quite sure. I know a little bit. I've read a bit about the book. Okay, how much would you like to know about your profile and your behaviours? I'd really love that. Okay, so again, you've uncovered something that you can deliver. Whereas if they say, I don't really care about my profile, don't waste much time. You can say, oh, why is that? Oh, I've done Belbin. All right, how did you find it benefit? You know, start the conversations with the questions. So hopefully that makes sense. And I'm sure, again, as homework, there'll be things. And again, I didn't start off having all those products. I didn't start off doing webinars. We obviously do that because there was a new pivot, which we did, that word again. I didn't start off having online courses. but I created my courses 4 years ago because I knew there was a demand. I didn't know we were having a pandemic, but I knew there would be a demand. So again, have a look at what your product range are, and actually you might be able to do something different with your products and still go back to your existing customer base. So hopefully that makes sense. Does that make sense? Does everybody fancy a game of bingo as your homework? Give me a yes. Oh, going on the wrong slide. No, you're all sleeping now. Ah, Lorna says yes, that's good. Good. Perfect. Matthew's still with us. His sandwich must be finished now. That's okay. Right. Okay. So I hopefully I know that people are saying yes. You're getting what I'm saying. Now the other thing which I find is really interesting when it comes to sales, if you don't like it, you'll avoid it, just literally like the plague. So you'll try and do everything rather than sell. Spend time focusing on a pipeline, and it's interesting. So I'm sure most of you have seen on Facebook or seen on the internet Stephen Covey's quadrant, time management, you know, urgent, important, not urgent, you know, how can fit the rocks in. But I don't get that. I mean, I get the rocks in the jar, but I just don't get what fits into those quadrants. So what I did was, and a lot of my clients didn't either, so we translated it into Alison Edgar's big balls. So if we have a little look at your pipeline and again, your tasks that you do, I talk about basketballs, tennis balls, and ping pong balls. So if we have a little look, so again, matters that are urgent with a deadline that need attention. And it's so interesting because for most companies, that at the moment is sales. Sales should be a basketball, but so many people are pushing sales into ping pong ball because they'll send an email or they'll focus on their social media or they'll make sure their website's okay. And actually, if you're not bringing revenue through, time just evaporates. Tennis balls, again, I'll give you an example. My disk is full on my laptop, and it's been saying that probably for about 3 weeks. So it started off as a ping pong ball, and then it's like getting in there, and I'm thinking, okay, my disk is full. It's telling me it's nearly full, so it's a tennis ball. And then this morning I couldn't open my emails because it was a basketball. But had I had actioned or been regularly emptying my trash or emptying out my files, I wouldn't have been in that situation. So hopefully, again, looking at tennis balls, ping pong balls, and basketballs, for anybody that runs a linear to-do list, this is something that we use Trello, Trello. So if you don't use that, and we have cards and boards, and we put our tasks in basketballs, tennis balls, ping pong balls, and then yay, it's done. So you still get the satisfaction of taking it off your list. But again, time is one of the things that people say, I don't have time to sell. And again, in the old world, when people were busy doing the operational things, they wanted to bring in a salesperson because they didn't have time to sell. They were far too busy to sell. But nobody loves your baby like you love your baby at the start of your business journey as well. So a lot of the entrepreneurs, so my clients include like the Apprentice winners, the Dragon's Den winners. So I'm working with high profile entrepreneurs. And one of the things is always continue on sales. They see the importance. They don't treat it as a ping pong ball. So hopefully Alison Edgar's big balls will help you to work out where sales comes in your tasks. So I've got one more section left. I've also got a webinar coming up, which I'll put, it's on the slides. I'll give you some dates and I'll explain why I do the webinars the way that I do them. And then I'll take Q&A. So if you're thinking about that, you might have a question, have a think, and I'll come back to them just after this section. So the last thing is confidence. Now, this was in the remit of why a lot of you are attending today, because I know that Andrea put confidence in there. And I think that the most common thing that I see is people lack confidence in sales unless they've come from a sales background. You know, you look at a lot of people in businesses, they've come from a sales background, but for a lot of people, they don't start a business because they want to be in sales. They start a business because they are really passionate about their product or service. And sales is the afterthought that's attached, obviously after marketing, of course, darlings. But we have a look, and the confidence really comes from knowing the other three pillars. So if you understand the behaviors, you know how to adapt, you're building stronger relationships. If you know the sales process like the back of your hand, you know what to say and when to say it. I call it the magical dance, and it's like Swan Lake. So if you saw Swan Lake at Sydney Opera House, or if you saw Swan Lake at Covent Garden, the steps are the same. I go out with my clients on field accompaniment, so they're out seeing their customers. I don't speak, I just listen. And I know the next word that's going to come out of their mouth because they know the magical dance of sales. So if you don't know the magical dance like the back of your hand, that's an area that you can definitely improve in to make more sales. And then the last thing is strategy. You know, I don't have much time to go into a lot of detail, but when you're looking for new clients, really having the avatar, you know, using tools like LinkedIn, like social media, again, tying marketing and sales together, having a strong strategy, because when you've got the behaviors, the process and the strategy, confidence comes. If you've not got the other three components, you're faffing around in the dark, and that's what affects your confidence. So again, when I do this live, I bring up this slide and I go, who is this? And again, this isn't a bad picture of her, but a lot of the time people think it's somebody else, and then eventually somebody will say, it's Kate Moss. And then I'll go, am I Kate Moss? And they really don't know what to say. So I answer for them and I say, I am not Kate Moss. I was not born a size 0, and I was not blessed with great skin. But every day, and I mean every single day, I look in the mirror and I see the supermodel of sales. And because I see the supermodel of sales, so does everyone else. If you're not confident in you, other people will not be confident in you. And one of the components of sales is you need to be confident in yourself and your product and service. So I've given you some of the top tips. Again, I've given you homework, darlings. I've given you homework. So one of the things is practice. You know, you look at Usain Bolt. How did he become so good at and get to the top of his sport? He practiced every single day. And if you're not practicing sales every single day, you're not going to find your full potential. You got to practice to get good, to love it. Think back to that circle. I love sales. I enjoy sales. Actually, I'm happy. I'm excited about sales. Therefore, you will make sales because your behaviors will drive it through. So that, again, is your homework for today. So I did talk about a webinar that I have got coming up. And it's been quite interesting, because at the time where loads of people, especially at the start of lockdown, everybody was doing free webinars. Andrea and I were talking about it off air. People are getting like webinar fatigue and no, another webinar. I decided not to furlough my team, which was quite a bold decision, because when, you know, the money was there, I could have easily have furloughed them. I've got myself and 2 in the team, but there was 3 reasons that I didn't. Reason number 1, I know from having worked in advertising and marketing that to get through a recession, you have to continue to market. And if I'd have furloughed the team, my marketing would have been limited. Also, structure in a day. Again, I practice and I talk about Alison Edgar's big balls. I live my life through the big balls. And I believe when you don't have structure in your day, you struggle. And then it affects mental health. And I wasn't prepared to put my team into that situation when I could help it. So we were a salmon and we decided to charge for the webinars. So we do them at £12.50 plus VAT. The next one is actually maximising remote relationships. So it's social selling. So again, there's a lot of debate. Should you cold call? Should you social sell? We cover all that in the session. And touch wood, we've now done about 10 webinars on different topics, and we usually get about 80 people. So in times when everybody's giving things away for free, I'm a salmon, and actually that money goes. So again, that's why I don't do it for free, because it pays my team, it keeps them in a job, and it keeps everybody happy, healthy, and I was going to say wealthy, but like 50 pence a book, you don't really get much wealth on that, but never mind, it keeps me occupied as well. So that is the content. You've got the webinar. It's at AlisonEdgar.com. Go into webinars. There's also free courses on there. So if anybody wants a free online course, I think actually the free courses are on entrepreneursgodmother.com. theentrepreneursgodmother.com, but Google me, I've got quite a few pages, you'll find me. So I think I'm gonna stop sharing the screen. Hopefully you've written that down, 6th of November, and I'm gonna hand back to Andrea to take any questions.
That's great, thanks ever so much, Alison, that was brilliant. Do we have any questions from those of you who've been listening intently? Anything that struck a chord, or anything that you'd like to check with Alison? Just put your questions in the Q&A. I can see some of you have been interacting throughout.
Gold star pupils, I like to call them, Andrea.
I know, absolutely. They should be feeling refreshed after their sandwich and coffee break.
I know, I'm looking forward to mine now. I get mine after this, and I've got coaching clients this afternoon, so I'm looking forward to that.
Me too. Any questions pertaining to your individual circumstances? So you're probably all from different sectors. Oh, we've got Matthew, thanks for the talk, just bought the book and interested in the webinar. Fantastic. That was quick off the mark.
Yeah.
Well done,
hey, Matthew, when it's delivered correctly, sales and customer service is exactly the same thing. You see, you added there.
I think it helps being aware of the DISC profiling. Yes, I would agree. When I did my MBA way back, we did Belbin and Myers-Briggs. But DISC, can you explain DISC, Alison? Is that just a...
Yeah, I mean, that's the colour profile. So the reason... Yeah, and it's interesting, Andrea, when I was looking for the different types of tools, I looked at them all, and I think this is the difference between using it for leadership and management and sales. A lot of salespeople are not degree educated. They're not highly educated. Again, a bit like me, sometimes people go into sales because they've got hidden disabilities. And when you start using the Myers-Briggs or the Belbin terms, it takes longer for them to identify them, because they go, is that whereas if they can go, oh, that's a red behaviour, that's a green behaviour, they can go faster at it as well. So I think,
yeah. We've got Lorna. So Lorna says, I sell fine silver jewellery. What would you say is the benefit to the customer of that?
Again, you probably know a wee bit more than me, Lorna, but allergies, like I get big rashes if I wear cheap jewellery. So I think the benefit to that is it's long lasting, it's good, it's got less chances of skin outbreaks. It also it can be made tailored to you. I mean, I think your benefit is your site. I think you're making it, I don't know, but actually it's bespoke. And to me, jewellery isn't an aesthetic thing, because a lot of the time it's a gift for life. Like, you know, it's the memory that comes with jewellery. For example, like, you know, I've got my wedding ring and my engagement ring, but I wear my mum's engagement ring, and you know, I don't even know how much that ring would have cost, but to me it's not, but it's the sentiment. So I think, again, it's not just what it looks like, if you're, especially for a gifting, it's the sentiment behind it.
Definitely. I think Lorna's saying, you know, would it be about feeling good? I think absolutely. I mean, I don't wear a lot of jewellery. I wear my core rings, obviously, but I don't wear a lot of jewellery. But the jewellery that I do wear is very personal to me. It's been gifted by somebody special. It might be a bespoke piece. So absolutely, if you're making that jewellery yourself and you're able to bespoke pieces for gifting purposes, then, you know, that's a huge benefit.
And I think confidence. So for me, if I'm speaking at an event, I'll always wear a big bit of jewellery. Like, I've got these, you'll see it on my website and stuff like that. I've got these like chunky, shiny things. And like, for me, it gives me the confidence. So I think sometimes jewellery gives you confidence as well, to feel good. And, you know, at the moment when people aren't feeling great about themselves and they can't go out and do what they would normally do, sometimes actually just putting on a bit of jewellery helps with their mindset. So again, there's all these benefits, I think, to find silver jewellery that you don't think.
It just takes a little bit of thinking about, doesn't it?
Yeah,
and it's maybe reach out to friends or family or, you know, business acquaintances and have a bit of a brainstorming about it. You know, what is the benefit that I'm delivering through my business, and get their perspective as well.
Yeah, and I think, do you know what's interesting? If you think about the old world, like, you would have a jewellery party. Like, when my kids were little, I was always a fan of like the Tupperware or the, I was going to say the Ann Summers. I have been to a few Ann Summers, but no, that was not the purpose of that comment. But
it just sprung to mind.
the jewellery parties and stuff like that. And I think actually that you can do some of that stuff by Zoom but make it fun, you know, not just like, oh, look at this, you know, engage with them. You know, what would you think would be the perfect bit of jewellery? Well, how would you think that would be? And again, get the girls round for a few drinks on Zoom, because we're looking to do things differently. So again,
Absolutely.
that's, you know, and then have a piece, and what's your favourite piece and why? Like have a quiz around it, and, you know, do them an offer. So I think there's still ways that we can do like girly jewellery parties in different ways. Again, Lorna, I don't know if that's exactly what you do, but can you see what I mean? I think at the moment it's about thinking outside the box.
Yeah, she said it's really helpful. Need to put some more thought into it. We've got Robert. So how to best present your small business to sell to large corporations? So that's
Robert, can you tell me a wee bit more about what you do? That would really help me. But ultimately, I'm a small business and I sell to large corporations. Again, I think it's about what you bring to the party. You have to be careful if it's something that needs to be procured, because obviously procurement have got the criteria that you have to be trading for a certain amount of time, you have to have a certain amount of, what does that say, data science, financial prediction. Not a topic I know very much about, but I would imagine that that would be a procured service. So what I would say, the Oxford Growth Hub will have a specialist in procurement that would, I'm sure you're running courses on that as well, Andrea, aren't you?
It's certainly something that we're looking at. So we're halfway through the webinar content for this quarter, and then we'll be announcing stuff for next quarter. So in with that, we've got expert grant writers that are going to be coming to, because obviously there's a lot of funding out there still. So we're going to be having people come in to talk about grant writing. And actually, yes, the procurement side of things might be quite an interesting one to put on. So watch this space. Alison's exactly right. There's certain criteria that you're always going to have to fulfill for those kind of public tenders. And it could be that some of them just aren't the right fit for you. But don't be dissuaded. Some large organisations really like working with smaller organisations, because we bring something entirely different to the table.
And Robert, what I would say as well is I've normally got a slide in my pack called Snog, Marry, Avoid, and it's about coming up with your ideal client. So say, for example, data science, financial predictions. Let's say your ideal client is, again, I'm coming up with Wren Kitchens, right? No idea if that's anywhere near it, but obviously they're a big organisation. They've got a lot of branches. So what you would do is you would go onto LinkedIn and put in the ideal client's name, not the name of the person, but the company, like Wren Kitchens. And then what you would do is have a look at the job titles of the people who are actually coming up under that company. And if there was somebody that says procurement, you would just send them a, like, again, watch the notes. If you want to marry them, just say, oh, I noticed that you've been working at Wren. I'm interested in the work that you do. So again, don't say, I want to talk to you about life sciences. Just do something that's quite generic. And then when they connect back, you would start a conversation. Oh, you know, how's things been going at Wren during lockdown? You know, how's that affected your financial predictions? Or, you know, something like that, like a generic, quick, open question. But I would be linking into like loads of people. And when you start the relationship, just, oh, I wonder if you could help me, Jim at Wren Kitchens. How would I deal with the person who would be the right person to deal with regarding that? How does that work with your procurement? Again, it's knowledge. Knowledge is power, and that's why you ask open questions. Hopefully that helps, Robert.
Thank you. Yes, very helpful. Thank you. Perfect. Are there any more questions that Alison can help with? I'm just furiously monitoring both the Q&A and the chat. As you say, you've got all of her contact details. You've got the webinar coming up. You know where to find the book. She's very easy to find on LinkedIn. I would suggest you hook up with her after this call, and then you can keep abreast of what's happening, and she can help you further. But Alison, that was really, really helpful. Thanks so much.
Oh, you're welcome. My pleasure. Again, like I talk about the banks, the bank of like cash, the bank of faffing around, and the bank of give back. And I love doing these webinars, and hopefully people love me doing them. So yeah, link into me, Alison Edgar. And then again, Matt, I think you want the link to the webinar, but you've already bought the book. You might have already booked the webinar as well. Who knows? But if not, I'll send you the link.
That's perfect. All right, Alison, thank you so much. If you can switch the host back to me, I'll end the session. But thank you, everyone. you haven't had your lunch, go off and enjoy it. Alison and I certainly
Yep.
going to.
Lunchtime.
That's wonderful. Just see. Okay, so we've got a lot of thank yous coming in, Alison, as you'd expect.
Nice.
Okay. Right, that's it. So thank you again ever so much. That was so helpful.
No problem.
May well get you back in the new year. That's time permitting. If you're able to, you're a busy lady. But we'll see. But I'll end the session. So thanks ever so much, Alison, again.
Perfect. Thanks, Andrea. Take care.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.